I gotta say, I think I'm sold. I think Jamari Lyons is going to push for some serious playing time in 2024.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. Happy Thursday. I'm Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. I'm a lifelong Florida Gators fan, your ever gracious host. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. And like I said, with Jamari Lyons, just rewatching some guys from the 2023 season and trying to piece together how this defense comes together as a complete unit. And I think for me, one of the biggest reasons, and we kind of talked about this, might have been a week or two ago, where I feel like Jamari Lyons is a good fit for Gerald Chapman specifically as a defensive line coach. The same way, I think that Cam Jackson was a pretty good fit for Sean Spencer as a defensive line coach. I think that Sean Spencer is kind of like, hey, just two gap, control the gaps, don't get beaten, just hold your blocks and let linebackers come up and make plays. You're not expected to be much of a pass rusher, occupy blocks, be more of that pure nose tackle. And Gerald Chapman still has a nose tackle, but Gerald Chapman's approach is kind of, and I've been alluding to this for a while, his approach with defensive line is kind of stop the run while you're on your way to rush the passer. Because you're looking at a modern football era where pro and college, they throw the ball a lot now. And so I think for the defensive line and Gerald Chapman, it's like, all right, well, we need to be more aggressive at rushing the passer and stop the run while you're doing that. And linebackers come up and make plays. And I think that Jamari Lyons is someone that really benefits from that. I think you look at his first step, you look at his pass rush upside even, and you kind of see someone that can be pretty productive as a pass rusher. I'm not saying that he's someone that's going to have, 40 pressures or anything like that, but someone that can get you 3 or 4 sacks, maybe 25, 30 pressures. I think that you're looking at someone like that. And I'm not saying he's going to start, but I do think that he's going to rotate in a lot, especially when you look at, first off, that pass rush upside. We've talked about this before as far as like, oh, are you just a situational pass rusher? We were talking about it with, I think we were talking about Jeremiah McLeod the other day, where I was like, yeah, like he might just be a situational pass rusher and obvious passing downs, but those are becoming more frequent now. Back when, I don't know, back in 2011, we'll say, it's like if you were a rotational pass rusher, you were playing on third and medium, third and long. Now, if you're a rotational pass rusher, situational pass rusher, first off, every down is fair game, but also second and medium or second and long, third and medium or third and long, you're expecting pass on those. You get more usage. The same way, oh, he's a 2-down linebacker because he stinks in coverage. The same way those guys are really 1-down linebackers now, if that. And that's the important part where Jamari Lyons, I think he has that pass rush upside where those guys they need to play more. They need to play more. And also the positional versatility that Jamari Lyons has. He can play the nose. He can play that big end. I don't think he's going to play much of that big end just because I think you got a lot more depth there this year. So I don't think you need to force things there. You got Caleb Banks, Joey Slackman, Kelby Collins are all going to get significant playing time at that spot, I believe. And so you look at nose and you go, all right, well, Jamari Lyons, coaching fit, I think he's a better fit for Gerald Chapman than Cam Jackson. Again, and I want to make this clear. I have no issue with a nose tackle where you go, hey, your role is to be a pure nose tackle. Just eat blocks, cause traffic, and just let everybody else make plays. Like those guys, they can last. They can have long careers at the NFL level. Not as long now. They're not as valuable now, but they still have long careers. Okay. And so I think that Jamari Lyons, I don't think he could do that as well as Cam, but I think he can give you more impact plays, more pass rush potential, more pass rush upside, more pass rush, honestly, talent right now. I think I've been a big supporter of Cam Jackson in terms of I think his role is fine. I think he does his job well for the most part. That Tennessee game, you lose, or I don't know if you lose, but you don't get to play defense the way you play defense without Cam Jackson. However, I think the trade-off, you go, Cam Jackson, really good run defender. You don't see much as a pass rusher. And you go, Jamari Lyons, like, not as good a run defender, I think, but the pass rush upside, it's like, well, now you're throwing the ball more than passing. So we should value the pass rusher more than we value the run stopping. And so I think for that, Jamari Lyons really opens up there and he helps you open up. And again, positional versatilities, I don't know if he's going to really be asked to do that. Last year he did, but again, your big end spot now is so much better in 2024 than it was in 2023. They've moved multiple guys to that spot. They brought in Joey Slackman. Like it's pointing up to be a damn good position this year at that big end spot, that 3 tech. And Jamari Lyons could be pushing for that nose tackle spot. Again, I'm not saying he's going to start, but it wouldn't shock me if he was by the end of the year. I just think that's fair to look for when you talk about rushing the passer and you talk about how teams throw the ball more. You're going to play a lot of teams that throw the ball. Like I do think that Cam Jackson has a lot of opportunities to succeed this year. I think you look at teams that want to spread you out and then run the football in the middle. You're going to have not just Tennessee. Like you look at what Cam Jackson did against Tennessee, superstar game. Hell of a game. You're going to play Mississippi State that does that this year too. Jeff Levy's from that Bryles tree. It's going to happen. Miami's probably going to try to spread you out a good bit and try to attack you that way too. Like Cam Jackson, while I don't think that he's got higher upside than Jamari Lyons, there's going to be games where Cam Jackson will be more relied upon. And I think that's something to take note, but also Jamari Lyons, pass rush upside, big play upside, impact play upside. At a certain point, I think you go, all right, well, that's a fair trade-off for us, right? I don't think it's unreasonable to say that. Also, I do have one guy on offense at one of my favorite positions that I think can push for some series playing time this year. We'll get to that. We will next on Locked On Gators. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I've been very open about this. I've gone to multiple concerts. I went to a concert on Tuesday night. I went to go see, 15 people performed. But the headliners were Drody, Max O'Cream, that Mexican OT. Like I went, bought the tickets a few days before the event on Game Time. Tickets were $20 cheaper than they were a month and a half in advance. So it's a gamble, but hey, pays off with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets or concert tickets or whatever else you want to look at. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And I did want to flip to offense, to tight end, and I kind of wanted to give Tony Livingston a little shout here. I was told, I think maybe 3 or 4 months into Tony Livingston being on campus when he first got there, they started in 2023, like January 2023. It's a few months after that I spoke to someone about just the offense and a couple defensive guys, but someone just kind of unsolicited went, Tony Livingston. Like when he puts it together, when he gets the playbook down, that kid's going to be good. And last year, didn't really put it together. But again, I don't even know if he had the playbook down. But he is someone that there are high expectations on for whenever he does put it together. There's expectations on that coaching staff that he's going to be a damn good football player. Okay. I do think that one big thing with him is that he's got the skill set to play both tight end spots. Played offensive line in high school, shed all the way to play basketball, came to Florida, playing tight end here. Great athletic ability, again, basketball player type. But he's also got at least some of the technique of an actual blocker. Like he's got the skill set to play both spots. I don't think he's better at blocking than Hayden. I don't think he's better at pass catching than Arliss. However, when I go, hey, who else is going to rotate? I think that Tony Livingston will be the first man in to rotate for Hayden on the inline spot. But I also think that you can go, hey, we're going to take Hayden out, put Tony Livingston in, keep Arliss in, and have the two pass catchers. And then we can take Arliss out, keep Tony in, put Hayden back in, and then have our blocking tight ends there. And you can kind of have him as a specialist there where he could play, I'm not saying starter snaps, but a starter number of snaps just because he's playing both spots. I think he could do that. I would take him on the field over Gavin Hill. I would take him on the field over Keon Zipperer. That's not a knock on either of them. I think Tony Livingston has a lot of potential. Like, also, to further talk about how he has that potential, last year was technically his true freshman season. Part of the 2022 class, didn't join until 2023, but last year was technically his true freshman season. He didn't redshirt. I think that that's an important distinction there. That Tony didn't redshirt. He's listed as a sophomore now. Offensively, didn't play much, but he was a consistent player on special teams. Or not even that he didn't. I mean, he didn't play a ton, but he rotated in a little bit in a few games. But also special teams contributor week in, week out. And like I said, I was told when he gets the playbook down, he's going to cook. Getting a playbook down is not easy, especially at tight end, especially for an offense that uses tight end as frequently as they do. But now he's had a year and a half to this point that he's been on campus in Gainesville. The expectation should be that you contribute. With his athletic ability, I think that you go, hey, he's the better option as a blocking tight end in terms of getting actual pass catching production from the blocking tight ends. And in terms of blocking ability, as in the depth, and in terms of blocking ability, you go, well, he's better as a blocker than the depth options at receiving tight end role. So Tony Livingston is someone that I do have high expectations for. I do think that the Gators this year will rotate more tight ends as well. And it's not a knock on anybody. Like, I'm not saying that Hayden and Arliss shouldn't play as much as they did. However, they did play a lot of snaps last year, and that's just Florida has shown, hey, we want to rotate guys at a lot of at most spots, we want to rotate players. You look at last year, and you had Ricky played the most snaps. Then you had your five mostly starting offensive linemen, Graham, Khalil Jackson, Hayden. Like, Hayden played more snaps than Trey Wilson. Hayden played more snaps than Montrell Johnson. Arliss played more snaps than Trevor Etienne. Like, those guys played a lot of snaps last year. Whether or not they were real impact players on the offense at certain times, whether Arliss, it felt like he went ghost, whether Hayden wasn't running routes because he was in pass protection, whatever it was, they played a lot. I don't think this is a team that wants guys to play like that. I don't think this is a team that wants to say, hey, we need to rely on 8 guys to play 500 offensive snaps. I don't think you want that. I think you want to rotate offensive line. You want to rotate receivers. You want to rotate your running backs, your tight ends as well. I think last year you really were put in a tough spot. You had Jonathan Odom, who his season ended early. You had Dante Zanders, who got benched at halftime of the Utah game and was basically non-existent the rest of the year on the offense. Tony Livingston learning the playbook. Andrew Savai and I did not play. Like, this isn't that they're like, oh, these guys are just too damn good. We have to play them every snap. This is that we did not have depth at tight end in 2023. We needed to play these two a lot. And that's what they did. They played Hayden, they played Arliss a lot. Tony Livingston this year can make those jobs easier for both of them. Even if he's the only guy that rotates in consistently, he can make both of their jobs easier. And it's not just making their jobs easier. It's keeping them fresh for later in games. It's helping keep them healthy, help eliminate some wear and tear there. Which, again, I'm not, obviously, they're not touching the ball 400 times or 200 times or 100 times. But constant blocking, hanging, and banging. Florida's offensive line last year is consistently going through injury problems and consistently cycling through who is starting, who is playing, anything like that. Physical positions blocking. This is a team that wants to run the ball. Yeah, they're going to get banged up. I think having Tony Livingston helps you there. He can keep both guys fresher. I do think that Tony will play more of the inline role this year, but I think long term he might be better suited to play that receiving option there. I just think that his skill set calls for that. I'm not saying he's better than Arliss at all. I'm just saying skill set wise, I think that's where he's better suited. But right now, that's not where he is. Based on the recruiting classes that they've been bringing in, he's not going to get to do that. He's going to be playing more of the versatile role there. But that's a role that could thrive in this offense, especially as tight end 3 with more rotation. Tony Livingston is someone that you should look for to see, hey, he's out there producing a little bit. We are about to talk about someone that I didn't think we'd really talk about as a significant contributor this year, primarily because he's a true freshman. Talk about that next on Locked On Gators. To wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators, we are talking about one true freshman. I know. It's not who you think it is. I'm not saying DJ Lagway. I don't think that's necessarily something where he's going to push for significant playing time. I think he's just going to get that. Like, I don't think it's so, like, when I'm saying push, I mean like someone that's going to kind of, you're going to go, all right, we can't keep him off the field. And I think DJ part of the game plan, honestly. But Florida did bring in another highest ranked player at his position. LJ McCray, highest ranked defensive lineman in the country in 2024. And I mean, I've already had the heart palpitations from LJ McCray, just maybe on early signing period when it was like, oh, Auburn's trying, killing me. But LJ McCray is someone that I was talking about Jamari Lyons' pass rush potential. Let me tell you, like LJ McCray's pass rush potential is insane. He's just got all of the physical, like it's so easy to see why he was the top rated defensive lineman in the 2024 class. Because he was just so damn good. He's got all the physical traits. Like I'll pull up the scrimmage notes there that we had, but and again, some of it was just stuff that you can't teach. Like he had Najee Harris pulling at him and he just stopped him dead in his tracks. That's stuff you can't really teach. That's wild stuff. One rep where he was double teamed by the tight ends. He shed one, he bull rushed another one, got into the passing lane, which then made Graham Mertz pump fake, and then he got the pressure on Graham Mertz to end the play there. Like stuff like that. I do think also that LJ McCray is someone where we talk about Princely Umamielen a lot, and we go, oh yeah, like he was forced to drop into coverage. We've talked about the numbers of what you've sacrificed by dropping him into coverage so often. You can argue these things. However, I will say that LJ McCray in the spring game found some pretty good success there. And then you talk about the pass rush toolbox that we talk about. And I know that a lot of Florida Gators fans just hate the toolbox, tool shed, whatever it is from Austin Armstrong in his early days at Florida. We was like, we're going to give him a toolbox, tool shed, tool whatever. And that was a whole thing. However, pass rush toolbox is indeed a thing. Pass rush plan, whatever you want to call it. LJ McCray needs work on his. He does. But in the spring game, we see a long arm, which the long arm is if I'm lined up outside the right tackle's shoulder, then I will put my right arm into his outer shoulder and push him back. And then I'll have my free arm to get in the lane, do whatever, try to hit the quarterback, whatever it may be. But you bully that arm. That's the Khalil Mack is the best long arm I've ever seen. That kind of player. You see a swim move, which self-explanatory. Swim. We saw depth on a bull rush. And by that I don't mean just, he broke out a bull rush. I mean that he broke out a bull rush, which just bang, broke out the bull rush. So bang, broke out the bull rush and actually drove the offensive lineman back into the pocket. Like just little flashes of that. I'm not saying he does that consistently. I'm not saying he's going to do that every down. I'm not saying that he's going to do that every game even. But just the flashes of having that. It's really interesting. Really interesting. I do think there were some times where he was just kind of not sure of what to do in that situation. But sometimes that's a coaching thing of just, hey, occupy, get your hands up, whatever it is. If you're losing a rep, get your hands up, whatever it is. I think if he adds some power, which he probably should have by this point in the game. I mean, the spring game was 3 months ago. If you add some power, you're talking about someone that's way more lethal. Like the bull rush gained depth while I was also writing, hey, he probably needs to add a little bit of weight, add a little bit of strength there. Run defense was a bit worrisome, but again, the Jamari Lyons case. If you're a situational pass rusher, as long as you're productive on those, that's fine. Like, again, LJ had a strong spring game, in my opinion. I mean, he had a couple plays where he just out-athleted guys. I don't know if out-athleted is really the word, but he out-athleted guys. And he spent this offseason training with BT Jordan, who, if you don't know who BT Jordan is, BT Jordan is a coach that is a pass rush specialist, right? Pass rush specialist that usually works with, pro trainers or pro players come in. He trains them just to rush the passer. BT Jordan, so good at that Seahawks hired him as their pass rush specialist. That's what he did, right? Like he's worked with all pro, future Hall of Fame edge rushers. And LJ McCray is working with him. I'm not saying that means that he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, future whatever. I'm just saying that you're the company you keep. Some saying like that. LJ's trying to work there, and I think that the effort there is a big thing, especially with specifically raw pass rushers. I feel like we very frequently see them never reach their potential because they never develop the toolbox. They never add more tools to the toolbox. They never, because I do think that when you talk about edge rushers, or pass rushing, block deconstruction, whatever you want to call it, there's two schools of thought there of like, let's just have a bunch of things that we're pretty good at. And you just don't know what's coming. And that's part of the mind game. Like that's definitely helpful. And then there's also the Bruce Lee quote of, I fear not the man that's practiced 1,000 kicks one time, but the man who practiced one kick 1,000 times, which that would be the case of like, I'm just spitballing here. Khalil Mack long arm, the princely spin, like, which you can hate him all you want. Spin moves, one of the cleanest in on the planet right now. But like, I think LJ is going for, I'm just going to be good at a lot of things. And that's cool with me. Or I'm going to have 3 or 4 really good moves and just dominate you that way. Hell of an approach to take. LJ McCray is someone that, again, if we go, hey, just come in and situational pass rushing downs, that's enough to be a big-time impact player, okay? And I think LJ McCray will probably push for that, especially if some of the guys in front of him don't generate that pass rush. Then you go, okay, well, we'll keep you on in the early downs. And then LJ's coming in. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country, NFL 33. Find our Florida Gators Dynasty Mode with Whole Nine Sports, WHOLENINE Sports on YouTube. I'll see you all next time.